Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this is the Christmas edition here. This is the 71st time that I've come through Christmas, Christmas season, and I'd like to wish all my viewers a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, you know. And I don't often talk much about viewers, but you guys are the reason that I'm motivated to show up here and make videos, and I do appreciate all the many people that have subscribed and the people that view, and especially the people that comment. It's sort of like friends you hadn't met, you know what I'm talking about? Well, anyway, since it's Christmas and all that, I guess I should show you my Christmas present. We're going to unbox it. It comes in this box right here, and the accessory comes in this box right here, which you've seen one like it already, I think. What I got here is I got a High Point 45 carbine. Now our English speaking cousins would pronounce that as carbine, and you know, it's like I say tomato and you say tomato. We're going to call it carbine here because we're rednecks, you know, and that's just the way it is. And one of the neat things about it is that it comes in 45 ACP. Same thing I shoot one of my favorite pistols, 45 ACP. They do make them in 9mm, but I like the 45 better. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to unbox the little bugger. Okay? I believe that's about as zoomed out as we can get, and so we'll open this thing up. On the outside it says High Point Firearms, model 4595. Now if you're a gun snob, you probably already turned to another channel because you know you don't like cheap guns, but I do. So now I don't know what all the stuff is that's come in here. I mean, we're unboxing it, for heaven's sake. But here's the little fella himself, and I think I get most of that in the view of the camera. And it comes with all kind of neat warnings and all the stuff like that. And it also comes, like I say, it's in 45 ACP, so we'll get to play with that. Hopefully we'll go to the range here in a little bit and try it out. But first we got to put the scope on it. We've got to read all the instructions and find out what all this stuff here is. I don't know what this is, but it's in there. There's a little wrench in there, and we've got here a different, looks like it's a different pad. No, it's a sling. I'd burn it, dropped all the pieces on the floor. Alright, I'll pick those up later. That was a sling and a bunch of stuff for it. And here's a magazine, and it's a Nancy Pelosi approved one. It only holds 9 rounds, but 9 rounds of 45 ought to get you a big old hog if you're out hog hunting. At least I'd think so. So what we're going to do here is we're going to assemble everything. These assembled, and we're going to put the scope on it, and then we're going to sort of preliminary sight it in, and we'll talk about it as we go along. One of the first things you have to do after you unbox is to screw in, I guess, what you'd call the charging handle. And I'm going to put just a little tweak of tightness on it. That'll do it. And of course, I'll have to take all these warning labels off here at some point. It came with a little bag of hardware for installing a sling onto the rifle, and it's got these little loops here that screw in. It says to screw in one here and one up here somewhere. But the first thing I'm going to do is to put this scope mount on here. It comes with peep sight, which is normally a pretty good thing to shoot with and accurate, but I want the scope on it, and I always use this type of scope mount because it's got such a long area of grip. So I'm going to dig out my tools and we'll get started on that. Before we get really into this, now I'm going to read off of the statistics for the thing. The barrel length is 17.5 inches. The overall length is 32 inches. It weighs 7 pounds. Has an adjustable peep sight. 9-shot capacity magazine. And of course the stock is polymer, as you can see. They make all kind of different accessories to this thing, including slings, swivels, and scope bases, and recoil buffers, and different rails, and you know, all manner of other little accessories that you want you can get from High Point or from your dealer. This thing, which I didn't know what was, is the trigger lock. It goes right in here, and you fold it up and lock it down, and they give you a wrench to do all kind of work on the gun. I'll put the sling on it later. Right now I guess I need to figure out if the scope mount I've got fits the rail, or whether I need to get a different scope mount. I'll be right back. Okay, so part of getting this thing ready for use is mounting the scope. This scope mount won't work on the Weaver scope. It's just too big for the mount. So, and that other was designed, I think, primarily for .22 rifles anyway, and to fit in the little groove they have, you know, the dovetail. So we're going to use the scope rings that came with the scope. That's a unique idea, I guess. And we're going to unscrew all these little screws. I'm not sure if this is going to be further away from me or closer up. I'm not really that experienced with carbines. They're smaller, so I guess you're going to need to be a little closer with everything. There's the first little bit of information. The sights have got to come off the rail. So that's what we'll do. We'll remove the sights. I know the front sight's going to have to go because it's pretty well down low, you know, and I'm going to pull it off. It's a shame you've got, you know, fully adjustable rear sight and sort of adjustable front sight, but they're just in the way of the optics, which I like. I'll clean this off and be right back. Well, before I do that, let's just we can take the provided tool and use it to remove the rail, which gives me some insight into removing that tool there. I mean, removing the rear sights. Well, come on up there. There we go. That should release the rail. Although I'm not really familiar with the darn thing and how it works. I guess I need to fool with it in private here a second. Be right back. Alright, removing the rail is a mistake of the first order, because the little things that hold it down will disappear down into the top of the gun there. The good thing is, if you take this little tool that they give you, it fits right in the holes on this little latch right here, and you swing it back and this pin will fall out, and then there's one up in the front up here, and he will fall out. And before you do that, of course, you got to take off what I've called the charging handle, which they call the operating handle, which screws in on this side here. I'll put all that back together in a second, but I didn't want to take the sights off without seeing what was holding them onto the rail, and I didn't need to see what was holding them onto the rail because they were just screwed into it. And so I've spent the past 20 minutes of getting the thing apart and lining up the little pieces of metal under there that the rail screws to, and putting it back on. So if you want to take off the rear sight, just unscrew it. Don't take off the rail. Big mistake. Alright, be right back. Now I know the gun's black and it's kind of dark and I don't have the light just right, so I'm going to move. Well, no, I'm not going to move things, I don't think. I'm going to be working up here on the top anyway, putting the scope on so you can see that. And this little tool that comes with it, though, is the best thing since sliced bread, because it does disassemble pretty much everything there, or at least everything I've come across so far. I'll move this guy here. Well, I picked it up and looked through the scope, and I think I've lucked out and got it in the right spot. And I don't think the front sight's going to have to come off. It looks like the front sight's invisible through the scope, so we're going to tighten this down and we will go from there. You know, this is how it's going to look. Of course, I got to get all these little safety warnings off. After all, I'm not going to do anything it tells me not to do already. Alright, so this little bore sighter has got a plastic piece that screws on the end here to fit the bore of whatever you got. Normally I'm using it on 22, so I got a very tiny little end on it. But now that we're going to do a 45, I need to put a much larger end on there. And what happens is, as the screw goes in, this end here's got a 45-degree angle on it, and it just spreads the fingers out, and it gets pretty close to straight. It's not perfect, but it'll get you pretty close to straight. You have to kind of spread them out where it slides in the bore kind of tight. Move you around here to the bore end. Alright, now we're looking at the business end of the thing. I'll just tighten this down until these little fingers stick out enough it's reasonably harder to shove it in there. There you go, it looks pretty good. And then I'll turn it while it's in there to pull it up tight. Maybe I need to shove it in deeper. Alright. Kind of have to hold it against the barrel while you tighten the little fingers. Alright. Now that should be relatively straight on with the bore. I'll move you back around and we'll sight it in. I'm aiming this thing towards the bathroom, and I turn off the light so that this will stand out even more. And let's see if I can turn it on. Where will it show up? Too high. It's up there in the curtain. I don't know, that's alright, who cares? Sorry about kicking the camera. But let's see here. There you see the red dot on the curtain. Well, that's the guy I'm going to try to bring the sight into, you know, the crosshairs right onto that. And that'll get me on paper once they get to the range, and then I can get it really sighted in good. This is too close really for, you know, for doing this, but like I say, it'll get me on the target. Alright, now you should be able to see the little laser dot, and I've already come to a problem here in that I cannot raise that any further. I'm going to have to figure out some way to enhance this situation some, because that's way away from the crosshairs and I've run out of adjustment, I think. Yeah, I have. So, another problem to solve. We'll work it out. Alright, so here we are. Big problem. I can't get the scope to fit any lower than the high rings that came with it, and they're a little bit too high. I've got to decide whether I want to shave off some of this spot right here. That little guy touches the scope with the rings. I think it would do just right with it. Or rather than do that, I could go get another rail to go up there. So that means that I'm going to postpone this and give it a night's think and decide. These rings right here came close. I've got them actually in the black color too, but they let the back of the scope, the lens, sit right there, and that's a problem. So it'll be a little bit for me to think, and then of course you guys won't hardly have time to blink your eyes before I'm back, but I'm going to think on it overnight, maybe longer. I decided to try the red dot sight while I'm thinking about it, and the good thing about the red dot, you can vary the intensity of it, brighter or darker, whatever. And I'm not going to be bullseye shooting with this thing. If I shoot at anything, it'll be at hogs, and you don't need that much to get a hog. I mean, they're pretty good size, so I'll try this while I'm thinking about the optical problem. So there it is with the red dot sight on it, which just simply makes a little red dot or a red cross stick out in the distance. So I'm kind of eager to take it to the range and see what it does, but I'm also eager to solve my problem with putting a scope. I really wanted that scope on there, so I'm not giving up yet. Of course, I'm eager to shoot it, so you know what I mean. Okay, found a scope that fits the range and adjusts far enough, and it's unfortunately the old scope off of my 1022, but a lot of people hunt with this power scope, and like I said, I'm not target shooting with it, so that right there should get me on paper, and we'll see where we can go from there. There you are. The sights are, what do they call it, bore sighted in, and next step is the range. Something that I didn't show a minute ago is these pads on the back are to absorb recoil. You see it got the spring there and it moves in. I've heard that makes it really smooth. And we'll find out at the range. Alright, let's sight this booger in. Chances are you'll be able to see the bullet on the way to the target. And the first couple of shots, I hope I get on the target, or at least close. Got to set the scope for 50 yards. And I need to set the magnification up somewhat, so it'll be as easy as possible to see. Alright, here we go. And I don't know where that went. I see it, top right edge, about 1 o'clock. Alright. Move it down and left. About 3 o'clock. Need more left. And more down. Oh, that's close. Just a tiny twinge left. A tiny bit more down. Well, it's got to come down. Down plenty. Just need to come a little more left. Oh, and I need to reload. All right, reloaded. Ah, got a jam. All right. It looks like I'm eating a hole at the top up there, so come down a tiny bit, left a little more. I think that's an improvement. I'm out of ammo again. One more time around with the factory stuff, and then I'll put some of my ammo in it. All right. All right, that's all the factory ammo I'm going to use. I'm going to use some of my reloads now. They may shoot who knows where. They're plus P, so they'll have a lot more powder in them. Although some of the newest reloads. Well, my reloads don't look to be all that accurate, are they? They're all over the place. That's it. It's zeroed in pretty good. Good enough for hog hunting. I don't know if you folks know about it or not, but here a while back, Bubba got shot. You know, it seemed he went hunting with his cousins. You know, and they was having a good time out there in the woods. You know, they was drinking beer and you know, and everything. And so his cousin Ray picked up his shotgun and says, "Hey, fellas, want to go hunting?" And then what happened? The officer had asked him, and Bubba says, "Well, from what I remember," Bubba said, "I stood up and said, 'Sure, I'm game.'" Not a good thing to say to a redneck. All right, folks, that's all the regular stuff. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes of Texas historical roads here to finish things off. I don't know, some of you like it and some probably don't. But first place we'll stop is the San Jacinto Monument, and that's where General Sam Houston defeated emperors of Mexico. His name's skipping me right now. Santa Anna. I don't know why that did. I'm old. There you go. And anyway, we'll stop by the San Jacinto Monument where the last battle of the Texas Revolution was fought. And then we'll go up toward Huntsville and get a look at the statue of General Sam Houston. Okay? And all of you folks that aren't subscribed, what the heck? It's Christmas. Give me a gift here. Subscribe and leave a comment and hit the like button. That'll make an old geezer have a really good Christmas. All right, y'all keep on keeping on.